Hello friends, welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people, crazy people, and everything in between. Hope you're all doing wonderful. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and we're getting right into today's Reddit posts. Let go. I teach in the Valley of the Sun, in the fancy part of town, so Phoenix, Arizona. I can't afford to live there. We have a new gate-to-gate cell phone policy where students cannot have their phones out at all, anywhere for any reason. If I see a phone as a teacher, I am authorized to commandeer the phone until security comes to pick it up. Fair enough. I've decided way ahead of time that I wouldn't touch a phone unless I needed to, especially during the initial confrontation. I simply say, "Schmoopy pie, please place your phone on the gray table adjacent my desk," and then I put a sticky note on it. I even make sure I only touch the phone through the sticky note as I affix it with their name on it. I then call security who picks it up. This hasn't been an issue all year. The kids are pretty good about it. But not this time. As our security guard, Dave, enters the room, he seems to not be able to find this miracle hot pink sticky note affixed phone, so I reach for the phone to hand it to him. As I grab the phone to hand it the 30 inches until it reaches Dave's hand, the student runs up like the Bionic Man and places his hand on his phone also, grasping tightly. I don't know why I hold on, but I do. Instinct maybe. Anyway, he demands that I let it go. "Let it f***ing go," he says, and the second he emphasizes that word, I let go, while he pulls as hard as he can. The phone flies across the room and breaks the school window, as well as itself. Both items are shattered beyond recognition. The fallout is just starting to fall, but the kid was saying, "What the f*** did you throw my phone for?" Crying and lying at the same time. Wonderful. I said back in the heat of the moment, "Hey man, you told me to let it go. I did. This is on you, my guy." Dave couldn't agree more. His parents probably could agree a little less. Administration was surprisingly on my side about this. The parents did contact administration about paying to replace the phone, but they flat out refused to. They said that the student committed a bare minimum of 2 acts that led to his phone being destroyed. He had his phone out, clawed a teacher in the process of grabbing his phone he already relinquished to his care, and finally destroyed a window. The fact that Dave was there to witness all this was very helpful in making sure the ultimate malicious compliance being applied had only negative consequences for the culprit. I'll never understand why after 10 minutes of the phone just sitting there, he decided to all of a sudden come for it. And 2 days later, OP updates about the situation in a second post. Originally, administration was letting the parents know that there is no way that they will be paying the parents for a replacement phone in this instance. A security guard and 34 other students witnessed this kid take his phone aggressively out of the teacher's hand and subsequently launch it across the room. It was 100% the student's fault. Administration was willing to drop it and move on, hoping that the family of the student would do the same. That was definitely not the case. The parents of the phone thrower demanded that the teacher, me, pay for this phone, saying, "You better pay for my son's phone." This is when admin of my middle school, with district backing, performed the best malicious compliance I've seen in a bit. I am proud to be at my school district today. The district has come to the conclusion after investigating the incident, getting statements from students, witnesses, me, security, etc., that it was the student's fault that the phone flew in the air. The district agreed, however, to pay for the student's phone, as it was technically in a teacher's possession when it got damaged. It was an iPhone 12, so the check was probably around the area of $800. Then administration did them one better, by also sending the parents a bill for the window to the tune of $1,678. It wasn't a typical window, nor is it easy to replace. Once the teacher let go of the phone, it was in the student's possession, so now it's the student's fault. I'm not sure if this is the argument they made, but I'm presuming this is their justification for it. Doing some quick math, it looks like they're paying $800-something either way. Plus, the student is an in-school suspension for destruction of school property. Hotel checked in other people in my room. Now all my stuff is gone. I booked a room in a hotel in Nevada for one night after a long flight from Europe. I am European. At around 1800, I checked into the room and put some of my belongings, carry-on containing 2 laptops, earphones, and some other electronics mostly, in my room. The room does not have a safe. After cleaning myself up, I head into town for dinner and return around 2100. Finding my keys, the typical cards, don't work. I head to the front desk where I get 2 new keys. Same issue. As it turns out, another person was legitimately checked into my room. Unfortunately, this person already moved most of my belongings outside the room, unable for me to find. I obviously don't know where, and this person claims to know nothing. I did find my pair of sunglasses and some charging cables in the room, laying on the bed. I did not unpack anything from my carry-on, so they must have moved it. And with moved it, I insinuate stole it and pawned it, the end result being the same. Fortunately, my passport and wallet were on me. After calling the police, they said they can't do anything, because this new person legitimately booked this room. This is 100% on the hotel. Update. The whole story would fit in r/that happened more than it would here, but I found my bag. Long story short, I put a Samsung tag in my luggage, as in a GPS tracking device. Tip of the day, people, it was an absolute lifesaver, and I would have never found my bag otherwise. After an absolutely wild night bickering with the police, ignoring my need for sleep and a lot of persistence, I am a very happy man. Some comments were right. It's a scheme ran by shady hotels. And a commenter says, per another note, something is off here. Occasionally hotels make mistakes like this, where they book somebody into a room that is already occupied. The only normal response to that is for the second person to go back downstairs and say to the front desk, I'm sorry, but that room appears to be already occupied. Can you please give me a room that is not occupied? It is almost inconceivable that the second person would take your belongings and put them outside without notifying the hotel first. For exactly the reason you are reporting, they would be stolen almost immediately or lost. It is not clear what has happened here, but it does not sound like an accident or a mistake, but rather a concerted effort to steal things, potentially including the front desk staff as participants from the inside. Neighbor threw poison in my vegetable garden. We moved into our new house in January of this year. There is a side yard of grass/sod that belongs to our property that separates my house from my neighbor's home. Everything seemed great when we moved in, until I planted a small raised vegetable garden in the side yard, only place in the yard with enough sun to grow veggies. The elderly neighbor was unhappy that I had pulled up the grass and said she, quote, was going to get my husband on me. My husband loves my garden and the fresh veggies we get from it daily. My neighbor was quiet for a few months, happily accepted any produce I offered to her. Then out of the blue, she calls code enforcement on my garden, saying it was full of dead plants. Code enforcement came out, saw a garden with no dead plants and tons of melons and peppers, and laughed. Said I was not violating code and my garden looked great. Neighbor wasn't happy that code enforcement did not make me remove my garden, so she proceeded to trespass on my property and mow over all my watermelon and cantaloupe vines, destroying all the not yet ripe melons. I approached her and told her not to trespass or mow on my property. She turned away and walked off without saying anything and continued to mow on my property. The next day I go to throw some trash in the outside bin, and I see the neighbor on my property spreading poison in my organic vegetable garden. I started filming her, told her to stop. She continued. That night, both of my dogs got very sick, with vomiting and diarrhea. They had been in my fenced backyard only, not near the front where she was videotaped spreading poison. So I called the cops. They came and talked with her, told her she could not come on my property. She screamed and had a fit at me in front of the cop. The neighbor also smiled when I mentioned the dogs getting sick. The cop saw her smile and told me to immediately get cameras put up everywhere, as my animals didn't appear to be safe in my yard. I didn't press charges as I just want her to stop and leave me alone. However, she is continuing to trespass on my property, all caught on video. She literally walked past the no trespassing sign to mow 4 to 5 feet on my property. My husband wants to let it go. I fear for my 2-year-old daughter's safety, and for the safety of my 2 dogs. She is blatantly disregarding the orders of the police officer. I'm a wreck over all this. I'm going to have to remove all the poisoned soil and remediate the ground. All of my other neighbors have been super supportive of my plight and tell me not to back down to her bullying attempts. What should I do? Update. Thank you everyone for the thoughts. I will be going to the police station tomorrow to press charges. As they should. Why didn't OP decide to press charges in the first place after all that? I mean, it's a bit silly that they say in the post that they didn't press charges as they just want her to stop and leave them alone, and then also end the post saying, what should I do? It's like you know what you should do, you had a golden opportunity to do something about it. So it is good that they came to their senses eventually after some convincing from commenters. Because man, it's not even just for the sake of getting back at her or anything like that. It's to protect yourself and your family. Crazy lady doesn't know what makes a veteran. To set the stage, I retired from the Army Reserve 20 plus years ago. I have a farm and tend to wear BDU trousers because they are comfortable and durable. Anyway, a couple of years ago, this happened. Had to pick up some supplies at a local DIY store for some work I was doing around the farm. Pulled my truck into a reserved veteran parking spot this chain has. As I'm getting out, I have my first entitled crazy lady encounter. The crazy lady stops her Lexus and says, "You can't park there." Really? Why? That spot is reserved for veterans. And I am a veteran. Just because you bought some camouflage pants doesn't make you a veteran. True, my time in the Army makes me a veteran. You're too old to be a veteran. Do you even know what a veteran means? Someone that just left the service. No, anyone that has served, period. I served for over 20 years and retired. I am a veteran. Silence from her. "We're done here. Good day," I said. And I go inside shaking my head. Alright guys, that's going to be all for today. Thank you for watching. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more Reddit shenanigans. Stay awesome, have a nice day, and I'll see you all next time.